rise and fall of Stephen Curry, the greatest shooter of all time. Basketball has always been a sport dominated by physical freaks, towering giants with explosive athleticism, wingspans that swallow up space, and raw power that overwhelms defenders. The NBA's history is written by men who looked the part before they ever stepped on the court. And then there was Stephen Curry, a 6 feet 3 inches, 185-pound guard who looked more like a high school math teacher than a future Hall of Famer. When he entered the league in 2009, scouts dismissed him as too small, too frail, and too reliant on a skill, shooting, that was still undervalued in the NBA. He'll be a nice role player, they said, maybe a sixth man. But Curry didn't just prove them wrong. He rewrote the rules of basketball itself. He didn't just survive among giants, he made them bend to his will. With a flick of his wrist, he turned the three-pointer from a supplementary weapon into the most feared offensive tool in the sport. He didn't just win, he revolutionized. Championships, MVPs, records that seemed untouchable. He collected them all while looking like he was having more fun than anyone else on the court. Yet no rise lasts forever. Every athlete, no matter how transcendent, faces the inevitable decline. Injuries pile up. Younger, hungrier stars emerge. The game evolves. Curry, now in his mid-30s, is no exception. The Warriors dynasty, once unstoppable, has shown cracks. The question is no longer whether Curry is great. It's how much longer he can sustain that greatness. This is the story of his unbelievable ascent, his reign over the NBA, and the slow, creeping reality that even legends must eventually fade. Childhood. The son of an NBA star. Stephen Curry was born into basketball royalty. His father, Del Curry, was one of the best shooters of his era, a reliable scorer off the bench for the Charlotte Hornets. From the moment Steph could walk, he was in gymnasiums, watching his dad drain jumper after jumper, absorbing the rhythm and repetition of a shooter's life. But genetics can be funny. While Del was a sturdy 6 feet 6 inches wing, Steph grew up slight, his frame more suited for a point guard than a dominant scorer. In high school, despite his obvious skill, he was overlooked. Coaches saw a skinny kid who couldn't overpower defenders, who relied too much on finesse. Major college programs passed on him. No Duke, no North Carolina, not even mid-tier ACC schools. His only Division I offer came from Davidson, a tiny liberal arts college with no basketball pedigree. It was a humbling start, but it fueled him. At Davidson, Curry didn't just play, he took over. His sophomore year, he led the nation in scoring, dropping 40 on Gonzaga in the NCAA tournament, then bearing a game winner against Georgetown that announced him to the world. By the time his college career ended, he was a sensation. But the NBA still wasn't convinced. At the 2009 draft, 6 teams passed on him. The Minnesota Timberwolves famously took 2-point guards, Ricky Rubio and Johnny Flynn, before Curry went 7th to Golden State. Even then, the Warriors weren't sure he'd be their franchise player. They nearly traded him for Amar Stoudemire. Early NBA struggles, ankles, doubters, and the fight for respect. Curry's first few seasons were a roller coaster. He flashed brilliance, a 42-point explosion against the Pacers, a 54-point masterpiece at Madison Square Garden, but his ankles betrayed him. Sprains, strains, surgeries. At one point, doctors told him he might need to completely reconstruct his ligaments. The Warriors, a dysfunctional franchise for decades, didn't help. They paired him with Monta Ellis, another ball-dominant guard, in a backcourt that made no sense. Then came the turning point. In 2012, Golden State traded Ellis, fully committing to Curry as their leader. He rewarded them by staying healthy, averaging 22.9 points and 6.9 assists in 2013, leading the Warriors to the playoffs for the first time in 6 years. That postseason, he announced himself to the league, dropping 44 on the Nuggets, outdueling the Spurs' Tony Parker in a thrilling series. The NBA was starting to notice. This kid wasn't just a shooter, he was a magician. The fall, injuries, doubt, and the end of dominance. The 2019-20 season was a nightmare. Klay Thompson tore his ACL. Curry broke his hand 4 games in. The Warriors finished with the worst record in the league. For the first time in years, Curry wasn't in the playoffs. Critics whispered, was he a product of the system? Could he carry a team alone? The 2021 play-in loss to Memphis only deepened the doubts. But Curry, ever the competitor, responded with one of his greatest seasons, scoring title at age 33, carrying a young, flawed roster to the brink of the playoffs. Then in 2022, the ultimate redemption, a fourth ring, a finals MVP, silencing every remaining skeptic. The inevitable decline. Father Time remains undefeated, but time catches everyone. The 2023 Warriors were a step slower. The 2024 team missed the playoffs entirely. Curry, now 36, remains elite, but the margin for error is gone. His defense, never a strength, is exploitable. His bursts of speed aren't as explosive. The Warriors can't just outshoot teams anymore. Yet even in decline, Curry's legacy is secure. He didn't just win, he transformed the sport. Every kid shooting from 30 feet, every coach prioritizing spacing, every team hunting threes, that's his doing. The greatest shooter ever, a four-time champion, a man who proved that heart and skill can overcome any physical limitation. The rise was historic, the fall is inevitable, but the legacy, that's forever.